The world's dairy industry is at a turning point. Technology is changing the way we farm, and we have to keep up. Our job is to prepare farmers for challenges that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented, to solve problems not yet predicted. To do this, we need to make sure LIC is in the best shape it can be. We want LIC to be a sustainable business for the future and for future generations, for your children and grandchildren. We all value being part of a cooperative, and we want to protect what we've built together. This won't change. This is a journey with no end point. Together, we're transforming LIC for the future to protect and grow what we all value, so we can remain ahead of the field in a rapidly changing industry.
Hello and welcome to our fourth and final webinar introducing North Shropshire College as LIC's new monitor farm. If you've missed any of our prior webinars, please go onto our Facebook page or website and find the link through to our YouTube account where you'll be able to see the prior webinars. We'll be putting out future posts every month through until our next open day, which will be towards the end of the year, probably around October, so please follow through on those. I will now go through and introduce ourselves. I'm Sean Chubb, Pasture Profit Consultant for LIC in the Midlands and in Wales, and I'll be facilitating tonight. I will now pass over to you, Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom Moore. I'm the farm manager at Walford Farm. I'll pass over to Amir.
I'm an FSM for covering 3/4 of Wales and Shropshire and part of the border country. I'm mainly in the genetic side of things. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Timothy Bannett. Hi, I'm Timothy Bannett. I'm Sales Operations Manager for LIC in Europe, and welcome to this webinar.
Hi, I'm Sarah Peacock. I'll be looking after the questions today. So back to Sean to start things rolling.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Tonight the webinar process will be covering off the breeding session. So we'll start off with KPIs around a profitable herd. Then we'll move on to the breeding performance of the herd at North Shropshire College or Walford Farm as an all year round unit. Then we will transition into or look at transitioning into a block, and then finish off with the 2019-2020 breeding season and what has been done there. We'll be stopping in between the sessions, and we'll be able to take questions there. So if you've got any questions, please put them through. If you don't know how to do that, there'll be a box on the screen. If you just wave your mouse around, that will show up, say, Q&A. So yeah, please click on that and send them through, and we'll be able to answer your questions at the end. So if we move on to the first session, which is the KPIs. These KPIs are focused around having a profitable herd. So they sort of get broken down into a couple of areas. One is mating performance, and then the other one is around the calving performance, and then the other parts are just making up, well, what do we need from the cows? So, in the mating performance side of things, we're wanting good submission rate, so the 3-week submission rate, conception rate, and obviously the in-calf rate and 6-week in-calf rate are highly important, but also being able to retain a good number of your heifers through into second lactation. We want a tight calving block within not only the heifers but also the whole herd, so therefore that will flow through to our mating. To help with mating, we want the cows in prime condition, so that means a body condition score of 3 at calving, at least 2.4 at mating, and 2.7 at drying off. And so this will now allow the cows to be in the best condition. Obviously, we want the heifers to be in a slightly better or higher condition score, as the calving process has a bit more of an impact on them. So having that high body condition score allows them to just take that impact a little bit better. If we can achieve a replacement rate of 20 to 22%, then therefore we're minimising our rearing costs, and we can put that money elsewhere. If we can put all this together, we should be able to achieve 4 lactations or greater. We will also be able to achieve 265 days in milk and have a calving interval of less than 370 days. So we'll move on to the next part of the webinar, which is looking at the herd as an all year round herd. So Tom, can you just tell us what is the genetic makeup of the herd in terms of the breed and how they perform in terms of litres and fat and protein percentages and that?
Yeah, yeah, it's mainly a Holstein herd. They're averaging around 9,000 litres. That's some proteins, fats, 3.8, 3.9, proteins around the 3.2 mark. Yeah, mainly high yielding Holstein genetics.
What would you say has been the breeding focus in the past for the herd?
I suppose that it's been all year round. It's about keeping cow numbers keeping cow numbers up. But yeah, I think conception rate wise, they're averaging around 34% on the all year round calving. The calving interval of 415 days in the past. And yeah, there's been a lot of heifers in the herd, so a lot of cows have fallen out after a long time as well. The average age of the herd is actually about 4.3 years old. So you're second and third lactation cows, mainly. So yeah.
Yeah, that's obviously going to have a huge impact on the numbers of heifers carried through in that. So what has been your replacement rate?
I think replacement rate's been around the 27% mark, which is quite high. 86 heifers are usually retained. 86% of heifers are retained in the herd after the first lactation as well. It's a pretty young herd, I would say.
So there's a fair bit of ground to be made up for the herd to reach the industry targets that I put up before then.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And so what do you see as the beneficial traits that are within the herd and also limiting traits within the herd under the old system being all year round?
I suppose with the benefits, start with, I suppose, like high milk production's obviously been a benefit for that system. I suppose treating cows, cows are then treated on an individual basis as it's all year round calving as well, as opposed to like a group treatment type thing. And obviously there's consistent income monthly from milk sales. You've got similar number of cows calving every month. You've got sort of similar number of cows in milk as well. Limit wise, costs. I mean, feed and bedding, we looked at that last a few weeks ago, and you can see the cost associated with that. I mean, requires more labour as well. There's a lot more going on a daily basis on that type of system. So it's probably more difficult because you're carving, you're serving, you're drying off, you're rearing calves every day as well. And it's the systems. It's just relentless. It's every day. I suppose and the cows are pushed a bit harder as well. I suppose that's a bit of a limit, but it can be a benefit as well. I suppose you push your efficiency as much as you can on these cows as well.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, no, I think that gives us a good understanding of where the herd's coming from a breeding performance side. Are there any questions at this point of time, Sarah?
No, not at the moment. No.
All right. So we'll move on to the second, the third part of the webinar, and that's looking at moving the cows into a block. So this is a rough diagram that shows the number of cows that were calved in each month and our plan to get them into the autumn block. So the black line starts where we plan to start for the calving part of the main block. And then obviously the blue lines indicate the mating period. So initially planned on having a 15-week mating period to try and capture as many of those cows within the sort of July through to January time, try and get as many of them into the block as possible. And whatever didn't get in calf and was to calve after that would get moved into the mini block in the summertime. And then any cows that were still calving in June and July would get just rolled back into the autumn block and mated with them. So I'll put this question to Amir. What is the risk of moving cows back and extending out their lactation time with making this sort of move?
Well, there's a risk, yes, but I don't think there'll be much risk with these because the cows that will carry over will carry on milking anyway. We'll milk through anyway. So once we've achieved 2 blocks, then we'll be able to move and carry on round the March block, really, which will be a little easier as it's in the summertime.
Yeah, that's good. And so we plan to have all the cows within the autumn block within 2 years. Do you think there's going to need to be any leeway to hold cows within the block once we get them in there, Tom?
Once they're in there, they should, they need to stay in there, and that's, we've got to be ruthless and relentless in that approach. We can't afford to keep carrying cows and swinging cows around after the 2-year target. And I think, once that's their choice, they've got to be there, and if they're not there, then they fall out of the farm, fall out of the system. So.
And do you have any expectations on the sort of numbers that would not make the cut in terms of getting into the block?
I think 25% is probably a realistic figure for what won't make the block. We're surprised us so far with the grazing. They could surprise us with the breeding as well. So,
yeah. In your experience, Amir, what would you expect to see for a herd like this, and what are the sort of ranges you've seen with herds doing the same?
Yeah, 20 to 25%. But as Thomas said, it's this herd has breeding wise has performed better than we thought. So I'm hoping that the turning around will be better, moving the cows around. But we are talking about 20-25% definitely on average.
All right, and is this plan that we've got in place to extend out the lactation period to move the cows into blocks? Is this likely to affect the achievement of any of the targets that we have on the farm, Tom?
No, I don't think so. I think we pretty much set this plan at the beginning. It was, we looked at when the cows calved as part of the year-round calving herd, and we could see there was a slight emphasis on autumn block calving. So I don't see there being an effect. Unless you have a severe number of cows not in calf. I think we should be. Fingers crossed, everything should fall into place.
Yeah, and obviously with cows calving throughout the year, there would have been heifers scattered across the year as well. So what's the plan with them?
So we're trying to get the heifers as close to the block as we can, as quickly as we can. So we served 19 heifers this time, and 18 in calf. So they've all fought for the autumn block. There's a big mix of age with them, and we accepted that at the start. But we've now got another group that have come through that will aim to start serving beginning of June for the next split block, and then we'll swing them around as well.
Yeah. All right. And then from there on out, hopefully all the cows will be calved in the block. Is that the plan? Yeah,
they should be. Yeah, they'll all be calved in the block. We're not keeping any heifer calves that are calved at the minute. We're aiming to sell them, so we're not carrying or adding extra cost in terms of replacement going around and the replacements going around. We should all be in the autumn.
Yep. That's good. yeah, I think we'll leave it there in terms of the transition period. Has there any questions come through yet, Sarah?
Yes, I've got one here. What age are the replacements coming into the herd in the past, and what age will they be coming into the new block?
So in the past, on average, in the past 12 months, it's at 27 months, so a little bit older than it should be. There's some months have been higher, some months have been on target, but going forward, there'll be 24 months is the plan.
Right. And then I've got another question here, which goes back actually to the first section. Is calving interval important for an all year round herd, as there will always be cows then in milk?
Yes, it is. If you look at when the peak comes in, the longer you stretch out that peak milk period, you're actually diminishing their lifetime milk production. So if you take a cow that's calving 400 in say 20 days, each year that peak's getting later throughout the year. So yes, you will get 2 peaks within 2 years, but it's been extended out. So you're getting multiple effects from that as well. You're getting less milk, you're getting less replacements coming through as well. So you're getting less ability to bring in better genetics. So yeah, if I was an all year round calving person, I'd be trying to focus on a calving interval as close to 365 days as possible.
Okay, and then Tom, there's one for you here. Are you going to run into a shortage of replacements in 2 years' time?
We shouldn't do. I think we've got plans in place that we should have plenty of heifers, and there's quite a lot of heifers coming through for this autumn as well to be served. There was a lot of sex semen used in the past on the farm, so there's a few heifers knocking around as well.
Okay, and then another one, we've covered it a little bit. How will all the heifers manage a longer lactation period as they move around?
Yeah, I think some of them will make it through. Some will, might not, and might have a slightly longer dry period. But it's mainly a decision to keep milk up in the tank. We need to see if these heifers are fertile as well. If we leave them, they'll get too fat. They'll get over-conditioned and we'll struggle to get them in calf. So we've got to make a decision really based on the now.
Okay. Then someone's come back on the sex semen issue and said, how was sex semen used in the past? Over which cows, given past repro performance?
It was used on first services. On some of the better cows, we was on an AI service with someone else. It was a bit hit and miss. It worked and it didn't work, but we've ended up with quite a glut of heifers from it. So I suppose there's some benefits to it as well.
Okay, that's it for now, Sean. If you go back to yours.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to the next section, being the breeding performance of the 2019-2020 season. So if we start looking at the cows that are within the herd, and we've got a number of the ones that we've taken that are out grazing. Can you just run through us, Tom, what do you like about certain cows and what don't you like about them? So if we start with this one, what part of this cow would you want to keep and which part are you wanting to sort of...
I think stature is important for a grazing herd. You don't want a cow that's too big. I think these cows, she's got good stature. She's got good udder placement. Quite a bit of depth in her body, and she's quite broad as well. When you look at her head on, she's an ideal cow really for going forward. What type of cow we want? Same with this one. Good depth, good udder. Good legs. And then, this one's more of a Friesian type cow, so, again, it's more what we're aiming for as well. Good, robust animal. carries good condition, gets in calf well.
Yep.
And then, there's less favourable cow, I suppose, a bit more on the Holstein extreme side for what we want to do. It's quite narrow, doesn't carry a lot of condition. Should be pretty much on the edge on this type of system, I suppose, going forward as well. Again, this is just a bigger cow. She's obviously got good legs. Again, a bit thin, curved through the spine where she's been in cubicles as well. Just a bit too big for the system altogether, really.
Yeah.
And again, typical, not typical, but in extreme Holstein, not a lot of depth to her. She's quite shallow. She's going to struggle to eat that 18 kilos of grass we keep talking about as well, so it's not the ideal cow.
Yeah.
And again, she's a half decent cow there. You can see there's some depth to her. She's short statured and she's quite broad as well. So again, it's like a grazing type cow really. They're almost not there, but they're almost there type what we're looking for. So good robust cows that will withstand walking, withstand the weather.
Yep. All right, thanks for that. When we talked through the financial section, obviously the goal came out that you want to be within the top 25% of profitable herds within the LIC database. So I've just I haven't, but Tim's collated some information here and I've just used them. So if we look at the autumn herd, we've got autumn, spring, mixed block and all year round calving herds here, and just their average fat and protein across everything, and then the top 25 cows, and then obviously the net profit retained. You can see that the autumn and spring calving cows generally have a higher percentage rate of in the top 25% of fat and protein compared to the all year round calving cows with slightly less litres, but obviously a lot more profit retained and more milk solids per cow. And also health has a big impact on breeding, and health's been an issue going in the past for the Walford farm there. So if we look at the health versus net profit margin, so this is saying for every $1 spent on health, how much do you retain in a net profit? So if we look at that, then we can actually say that the multi-block farms, they seem to have a lower animal health costs for compared to net profit, then followed by spring, then autumn, with all year round spending a lot more per net profit on health. And then if we look at the actual total cost of the variable costs of health, autumn calving has a rather low percentage, and when you combine that with the higher milk solids, then your average health cost per kg of milk solid per cow, it actually works out to be one of the lowest ones across the herd. So take into account that you've got this lofty goal of being in the top 25% of profitable herds. Are you looking to more breed your typical autumn calving cow, or are you looking to do something a little bit different, considering that you are on a different milk contract supplying to Muller?
I think we do want to introduce milk solids into this herd and give us the chance and the flexibility to be able to move to a different contract. I think we want a healthy cow equals profitable cow, and that's what we're aiming for. So with genetics and with the chance to using crossbred as well, we can hopefully move towards that. But one of our main goals, we want to be able to still produce a decent amount of litres as well. So we've had a conversation privately that I feel that we can make a bit of a gap in terms of milk solids, which is like showing now we can maybe not have the best solids on the base of spring calving herd, but we can still send more milk solids per cow if we send in a few more litres as well.
Yeah. You broke out there a little bit. So
Okay.
just reiterate just quickly what you covered off there.
So basically, yeah, we want the solids because we want to be at the flexibility to change our milk contract going forward and give us more options. And then basically we still want retained litres because we want to push that milk solids per cow figure as well.
Yeah. No, cool. Thanks for that. So you've talked in the past about your cow manager software, helping you to reduce your vet and med costs. And you just touched on before using breeding to help along that as well. So how are you looking to use breeding to help with your health status of the herd?
If the cows were in one block in a nice tight block, the cows will move through lactation together, which means we'll be targeting different times of the year. But again, if we're looking at a lower yielding cow as well to what we currently have, and the cow that's a bit more robust, it should, it's bound to generate the lower health cost with it, and having cows outside more, which will give us, which obviously changing the genetics can enable us to do that as well.
Yeah, I know, very good. And so with your current herd, what traits within it do you see are going to be beneficial or limiting to the cows moving into the autumn block herd?
Something like, obviously, so the benefits in the current herd, we've seen that they can graze. It's been a big aid. They obviously do carry a bit of milk, so they're going to help us. We're putting New Zealand semen over these, or New Zealand genetics over these high yielding Holsteins. We should be able to retain a bit of yield as well. But yeah, no, I think we should move towards a lower cost system with less labour, a more focused system as well, which will help benefit the cow a lot more. Because we're targeting, as we go through the calendar year, we're targeting different stages of cow's lactation with her, instead of trying to treat cows individually. Limits, I suppose, the cow type. We've seen some of the pictures. Some of the cows won't suit the system, so some of the cows might struggle. So that's going to be a limiting factor. Then realistically, it's 2.5 years before any of these new genetics can actually enter the herd as well, which is, so it's a bit of a waiting game as well as that. And then I suppose one of the other limiting factors is managing the income of the herd going forward, because we're going from a consistent income monthly to a peak income during the autumn, and then dying off through the spring, and then potentially nothing in the summer through milk sales is it's just going to be another challenge to manage.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for that. Amir, do you have anything else to add there in terms of benefits and limitations that you see within the herd?
Yeah, the benefits, there's benefits in that herd at the moment, but some of the cows are not quite as Holstein-y as the extreme there. I think the drawback will be on some of the bigger cows will be the walking, because it's the first year that they've been out to grass. They've done very well so far, but I think they will struggle in the system eventually.
Yeah, I know. I guess that leads us on to onto the next part, which is the bulls that we used in the mating period. So if we start going through the bulls used, there was obviously 4. So we've got Hammer up here first. So Amir, can you just tell us, what benefits does this bull bring to the herd?
Well, when discussing with Tom at the start, we was looking for very high reliability bulls and looking for solids and reasonable fertility and capacity, and also cows which were aggressive grazers in the future. So this bull is, it's got about 30,000 daughters, and he's well proven. So he is going to be put on not the extreme cows, but some of the cows which matches Tom's size at the moment. The next bull we're going to use is Kel's Bells. That's on. Which very similar, again, with 36,000 daughters, high fat and protein. You know, as Tom said, he does want to produce a herd that if he can move milk companies to gain pence per litre, and this is the aim. But all this will, it'll take a few years to happen on the breeding. Again, a high fertility bull, good traits. On that bull. Sierra. This bull will be used on all the Holsteins cows. It's three-quarter Frisian and some Jersey. Again, high fertility, good solids, good reliability was number one in Tom's requirement. And the heifers then we used Butte. You got that?
Yeah, something now.
Yeah. That was basically just for ease of carving for the heifers. These that's all we looked at for the heifers really, was ease of carving and 50-50 Jersey Frisian. And good reliability again.
Yeah. And so, Tom, what made these bulls stand out to you?
Yes, obviously, I mean, reliability, like Emily was picking up, is my first thing I go looking for on a bull trait, on a bull proof. You can have the most stunning figures on the rest, but if you're not going to reliability figures, you're not going to see it in your head. Again, we wanted the Kiwi crosses. We wanted to select ones that weren't too heavy on the Jersey side, so we didn't again lose that litre performance a little bit or anything like that. So we went with a more Frisian based one to try and gain some sort of uniformity going through with the herd going forward as well. And then with the two black and whites, I think with Hammer, the key thing for me was a short gestation bull as well. So he's very key to helping tidy the block up at the end.
Yeah, I know, very good. And with the bulls being bred and reared on a grass-based system, are there any other traits that you see will be brought to the herd, Amir, that will be beneficial?
Well, yes, I think all the bulls from New Zealand are raised on grass-based system. They're very, as I said, they're very aggressive grazers, and we expect these cows to take in 18 kilos of dry matter, and these performances, from progeny from these bulls will do that quite comfortable.
Yeah, very good. And so I guess we should move on then through to how mating actually ended up. So this is some of the mating results from the autumn. I will put out there that this is only working on or looking at the cows that were eligible to be mated. So when we say there's 64% of cows got in calf within the 6-week rate, that's 64% of the cows that were eligible. So obviously the cows that were still to calve down in the springtime weren't part of that. And we haven't put anything in for not in calf and conception rate because we've still got cows to go through a mating for this year. So once we find that out, we'll be able to give final results. But as we can see, the cows that were eligible, we got a very good submission rate and very good non-return rate. So Tom, can you just go through and give some actual cow numbers? Obviously, reiterate how many cows are in the herd and what makes up these figures.
So the current herd number is 145. We started with the eligible cows at the front of the block. There was roughly 50 cows at the front of the block. We've ended up with 70 72 cows pregnant for the autumn block. So 50% of the herd is now shifted to the autumn already. We've then got 60 cows now that will be balled as part of the late spring, early summer block, and 25 heifers to go on top of that block. And there's 18 heifers to calve in the autumn as well. But also we're still year-round calving. So any cows that have calved from April now through till the start of August will automatically become autumn block calving cows as well.
Yeah. And were you happy with these figures?
Yeah. Considering we're still calving and trying to get them back in the park as quick as we can, I think we have to be realistic at what we achieved and accept that they're pretty good figures at the end of the day. It was hard to try and actually benchmark it because we're in transition. We're trying to become a block calving herd, but we're actually not year-round calving herd. So actually that trying to benchmark and judge all the time to see where we was at was actually quite difficult. So yeah.
And do you have any?
I think this is quite a compromise that you have to do when you are switching to blocks from all year round. There is a compromise always. Yeah,
no, definitely. Is there any advice that Tom or Amir you have for people who are looking to make this transition that would be beneficial to them?
As long as your cows are bulling, there's nothing more you can really do in terms of asking them to get back in calf. But just be realistic and be flexible with your targets. I based it more in towards what numbers I can get into the block the following year, more than looking at percentages or looking at really what I can get to calve in the first 6 weeks. It's more about getting the spine of the system there, getting the bones in, and then trying to build on that year on year.
Do you have anything to add there?
No, I think Tom is right. You've got to compromise somewhere, and you've just got to. All the heifers, hopefully from next year on, will be bulled for the autumn block, and we'll build his numbers up in the autumn. And it's swings and roundabouts really.
I completely agree. If we move on to the next part of the monitoring, we haven't even touched on any of the calving patterns because it's relevant at this stage, and it possibly will even be a little bit irrelevant moving into calving in the autumn time. But come not this autumn, next autumn, these KPIs will definitely come into it. But so going forward, do you see any changes that you're going to make to the mating compared to what was done this year?
I think a bit more focus on the cows when they've calved. We'll do a lot more work with post-calving checks, trying to get them cycling a lot quicker, make sure they're clean, make sure they're healthy. I think we will still use the cow manager system. I can't fault it. The results from the cow manager, over the last 12 months alone has been made a massive improvement on heat detection, especially quiet cows that we wouldn't have seen bulling. We're just a bit more focused on post-calving really with what we do.
Yeah. And you touched on last week, Tom, that the mated heifers or heifers to be mated this autumn are going to be outside all winter and grazing. Amir, do you see any risk with them out on grass? Because I know some people do have fears that autumn grass doesn't quite do it as the dry matter is dropping in it. So what's your view on that?
Well, if the grazing management is good, and which Tom is performing at the moment very well, the energy, the ME in the grass will be there. It's just managing the grass to the right level and measuring, and it's getting the grass into them, the dry matter into them, and hopefully it'll be fine.
Yep, I know that's good advice. Is there any questions for this section, Sarah?
Yes, I've got quite a lot of questions, Sean.
All right.
I just wonder first, before I go into the questions, whether Tim would like to say anything and come in a bit on what he's heard so far.
Yeah, I've been very, very interested, and I've been jotting down a lot of the numbers that he's did. And sadly, I'm not the man that can look at a photograph of a cow and say whether it's good or bad, or even look at a cow and say whether it's bad. I simply want to look at the numbers, and the numbers are telling me that Tom has a herd that can go somewhere. It is producing, and it is producing well. And Sean has highlighted the fact that the KPIs this year are not relevant as the herd transitions into this new autumn block. But the two big things that I've really liked about is that if Tom wants to get himself into a position where profitability is assured, or it's a given, there's two fundamental tasks he has to undertake. And one is to get an extra rotation in a year. My friend Piers tells me that it's somewhere around about 4.5 tons per cow autumn grass. And if you can get some of that into the cow rather than feeding it, there's a massive gain there. And that requires you over the year to have a cow that can keep covers down to about 1400, 1450. And that will be where the proof of the pudding for these cows starts coming in. And the second one is reducing that replacement rate. I mean, there's big gains to be made there. And I see that again as a cow that can control grass and get herself in calf is going to fundamentally change how this herd will move. And it'll be very interesting to see what bulls Tom chooses in 2 years' time when his herd has started to perform it, or started to be put under this sort of pressure. Yeah, I'll be very interested. But certainly, as I say, the two things I believe in completely need to be nailed before anything else to get yourself into a strong position is fertility and getting those residuals right. And certainly that's all they've been talking about today. So yeah, I'm enthusiastic about it, and I think, as I say, I'll be very interested to see what bull he chooses in 2 years' time once his cows are under real pressure to A, graze down, and B, get in calf. So that's my feeling. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think that's great, Tim. As I've got a question here about grazing, which actually came up last week right at the end of the webinar. Somebody asked how easy it is to get cows to eat 18 kilograms of grass a day.
You do need a very aggressive grazing, good capacity cow to achieve it. Like the sheer volume of it is fairly high. And if the cow's energy requirement's not at a level as such that it needs 18 kgs of dry matter of grass, it just won't. So yeah, you do need the right cow, and you do need the right circumstances for a cow to eat it. But it is achievable.
Tom, do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Couldn't say more.
Okay, then I've got a question here, again on the grazing side. Does the fact that the cow's environment has changed, is that affecting fertility?
It has, but not in a negative way. We've actually done some pre-bulling checks or clean checks this morning on the spring calving cows, and one of the vet's comments was the cows are cycling very, very well. Obviously, there was some cows that are bleeding off as well, and they looked like they've had very, very strong knees. A lot of scabs on the joints and stuff where they've been ridden. Yeah, I'm very excited for what's about to happen with this spring block as well.
Okay. And then someone asking about the average live weight of your herd, sort of the high and the lows as well.
We've not actually weighed them. Did more of a guess, but they'll be around the 700 kilo mark. There's some very heavy cows that might be a little bit heavier than 700, and there won't be many cows under 550 or even under 600. I'm instead looking at them. There's some very heavy cows there.
And just remind us what you're aiming for.
An average of 550 to 600. So actually bring that down.
Okay. And then someone said that they really like the Sierra daughters, that they look stunning on the bull sheet. Would you like to have a herd of them in 8 years' time?
Yeah, that's why we changed it. Like in 2 years' time, but yeah.
What do you think, Amir?
Yeah. The Sierra daughters have just come into some of the herds with LIC at the moment over here, and yeah, they're outstanding. They are outstanding.
Then I've got a question here about which cows were considered, quotes, eligible.
Any cow calved 42 days and over was what we considered eligible, but we was serving cows with no training period when the block really commenced.
Okay. And then another question, this is an interesting one. In Tom's experience, how does the bulling behavior of the grazing Holsteins compare with the other herds that you've worked with?
Timing. Very similar. Looking at the data that's coming from Cow Manager as well, the heats are really strong. They're showing exactly the same signs, exactly the same type of behaviour, really. Definitely in the sheds are a lot quieter, which is where Cow Manager comes into its own. They express heats as well, but outside, they're no different, to be fair. They're doing really well.
Okay. Then I've got another one here. Have you decided when you reach a certain point, for example, when 80% of the herd are autumn calving, you'll sell the last 20% of the herd and replace them with autumn calvers?
We've not really thought about that because of the amount of young stock we can actually manipulate to come through as well. I think it'd be nice to see this herd become an autumn calving herd without the need to buy in. I know we've discussed it in the past that you're not necessarily going to buy a cow. You're not necessarily going to sell your cow for the same price you're going to buy a cow for, and the risk of disease and stuff like that. We are TV free, which is a big thing for us as well. Something not really thought of, but yeah.
Okay. And then how long do you think it's going to take you to get to a herd of ideal cows?
Realistically, 10 to 15 years. Yeah, it'll be a long time. It's a long-term project.
Amir, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, the genetics used now, will only be coming through in the 4 to 5 years time, and it'll be 10 years minimum. It'll take that long to get the right cow, the aggressive grazer, and the profitable cow for the college.
Okay. And then what's the plan for the cows that don't make the cut?
Well, they'll go to the pasture in the sky. They'll have to leave the herd. I'm not a believer in carrying cows around for the sake of it. It's not profitable. It's not beneficial to what we're trying to do either.
Okay, and one final one I've got here at the moment. What should the farm be aiming for, through the transition period for breeding performance?
I suppose well, we've just been aiming to get the numbers of cows we want to get into the block. That's what we've really been basing on. Because that's where we want to be. We want to be an autumn calving herd, so we want the cows as quick as we can to achieve that. So we've been looking at, getting them there in 2 years' time, and just been focusing more on numbers than percentages and things like that. But having a high focus on actually, very focused when it comes to the breeding season as well.
Okay, those are all the questions. Quite a lot of them there, Sean.
Yeah. I just want to.
I think long term as well. They did a 14-week this year on the from November to February. Quietly bring that down by perhaps 2 weeks every year. So that'll definitely help to improve. But it's as Tom said, the aim is to get as many cows calving for the autumn block, really. Percentages are second at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. If you are going to focus on any percentages, I'd be focusing on the 3-week and calf rate. 3-week submission rate, and the conception rate. The reason being that will tell you which cows are cycling well and which cows are holding well, and then therefore which cows are likely to be problems once they do come in the block, and then therefore you've already got cows earmarked for maybe not this year, but might be next year that you're going to probably have to cull out because they're not going to make it. Those would be the two I'd be looking at, but I'd be looking at it on an individual basis, not so much as a whole herd basis. That sort of finishes off the breeding session. So I just want to give a bit of a conclusion around what we're actually trying to achieve and where we're trying to go to. So obviously we've got the goal of becoming a top 25 CFP autumn herd. So how do we get there? Well, we need a profitable cow. We need a cow that's going to give us the days of milk that we need. It's going to be in the herd for a long time, and is going to have good health traits, so that she's not a drain on costs. She needs to be an efficient grazer. So, we want her to be able to graze down to 1,500 kgs of dry matter, not only in the springtime when we've got that nice soft stem, but also in the summertime when the stem starts hardening. We don't want the grazing residuals to creep up because she doesn't want to eat down that hard. Efficient grazer there will help there, because that will also reduce the amount of costs we have in feed, and then also cost control. The ability to actually to hold those costs and not let things balloon out will be critical to achieving this goal. We'll leave things there for now, and I'd just like to thank everyone for being part of the Monitor Farm process and viewing. If you've missed any of the prior webinars, please go onto our Facebook page or our website and follow the link through to our YouTube channel and watch them there. Also, look out for our monthly updates from the farm going forward, and so they'll be monthly. And then please do come along to our open day that we'll be holding probably in October at the end of this year. And but if you can't make that, then try and make March next year, or April next year, when we'll be looking to hold another open day. So before we sign off, I'll just double check with you, see if there's any final questions.
No, I haven't had any additional questions.
All right, we'll leave that there then. Thank you, and good night.
The world's dairy industry is at a turning point. Technology is changing the way we farm, and we have to keep up. Our job is to prepare farmers for challenges that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented, to solve problems not yet predicted. To do this, we need to make sure LIC is in the best shape it can be. We want LIC to be a sustainable business for the future and for future generations, for your children and grandchildren. We all value being part of a cooperative, and we want to protect what we've built together. This won't change. This is a journey with no end point. Together, we're transforming LIC for the future to protect and grow what we all value so we can remain ahead of the field in a rapidly changing industry.